All right, today we're jumping into a novel that's not just a story, but more like a beautiful, intricate puzzle. We're talking about Khalid Hosseini's And the Mountains Echoed. And what's so incredible about it is that it doesn't give you a straight linear plot. Nope. Instead, it hands you these fragments, scattered across generations and continents, and asks you to be the one to piece it all together. The entire novel kicks off with this line, spoken by a father to his children. And right away, it's more than just the beginning, isn't it? It's the act of storytelling itself. It pulls you in immediately, setting this incredibly intimate and powerful tone. He promises them just the one story, but as we're about to find out, that single story contains pretty much the entire world. So let's get into it. A story of separation, the heartbreaking choice that starts it all. Where does this epic really begin? Well, it's not with a bang, but with a whisper. Picture this. We're in a small village in Afghanistan in 1952. We meet a father, Sabor, and his two young children, Abdullah and Pari. And they are on the eve of a decision that is going to change absolutely everything. Now, you have to understand, the bond between Abdullah and Pari is the emotional core of everything. He's more of a parent to her than a brother, and she absolutely treasures this little tin box of feathers he collects for her. It's their thing. So when their father sits them down on this particular night to tell them a fairy tale, it just feels heavy. This is not your average bedtime story. It's a kind of foreshadowing, a way of preparing them for a deep and unbearable loss. And there it is. This is the moment the story just shatters into a million pieces. It's a devastating choice, one that's born from crushing poverty and this desperate hope that maybe, just maybe, Pari can have a better life. This single act of separation, this is the heart of the novel. It's the epicenter from which everything else is going to radiate. Next up, a shattered mirror, where the narrative splinters across time and space. So just as you are completely invested in Abdullah's heartbreak, Hosseini does something really radical. He just breaks the narrative lens. The story jumps, and all of a sudden we're following people who seem completely random in totally different decades and different countries. We jump to a man named Nabi. He's the chauffeur for the very couple who adopted Pari. And his story is one of quiet, lifelong observation, of unrequited love and sacrifice. His whole life, as he puts it, is spent waiting. So, okay, we feel a connection to the original story, but we don't quite know how it all fits just yet. And then, boom, another leap. We're in 1974 Paris. This is Nila, Pari's adoptive mother. She's now a poet living this rebellious, bohemian life. I mean, it is a world away from a dusty village in Afghanistan, and her voice is so sharp, so cynical, so utterly different. The connection now feels like it's stretching really, really thin. And this timeline just shows you how jarring these jumps really are. We're ricocheting from 1950s Afghanistan to 70s Paris, then to a post-Taliban Kabul in 2003 with a doctor who feels completely disconnected from his roots, all the way to modern-day California, where an older Pari who remembers nothing of her brother gets a life-changing phone call. So, as you're reading, this is the one question that just beats at the heart of the whole experience. How do all of these disparate pieces, the chauffeur, the poet, the doctor, how do they all fit together? What is the thread that ties every single one of them back to that one heartbreaking day in 1952? And here's the answer. This is how the voices echo, revealing the novel's brilliant structure. See, these jumps, they aren't random at all. They are part of an incredibly deliberate and beautiful design. The whole book is built on a structure of echoes. Think of it like this. The separation of Abdullah and Pari is the center of a flower. Each new chapter, each new character story is like a petal that radiates outwards from that center. So the story isn't just moving in a straight line. Instead, it's deepening and reflecting those core themes, but from a totally new angle every time. Let's look at a really clear example of this echo in action. So we start with Sabor's painful sacrifice of giving up his daughter, but then we learn that his brother-in-law Nabi was the one who orchestrated the whole arrangement. And then Nabi dedicates his own life to quiet, loyal servitude, sacrificing his own happiness for a love that's never returned. You see? Two different lives, two different choices, but the exact same theme of profound sacrifice, just echoing across the years. And finally, this brings us to a tapestry of connection, weaving these individual stories into a universal whole. Through all these echoes of sacrifice, love, betrayal, and kindness, the novel slowly, beautifully weaves these individual petals into one magnificent, interconnected tapestry.
And as this tapestry takes shape, the big themes become crystal clear. We see how family bonds can somehow endure even when memory fails. We see how memory itself can be both a burden and a gift. We feel the weight of sacrifices that no one ever sees. And of course, there's guilt, forgiveness, and that constant search for redemption. It all comes back to the power of storytelling itself to make sense of our fractured lives.
And this is the profound takeaway. The novel's structure isn't just some clever literary device. The structure is the message. It shows us that our lives are not lived in isolation. We are all deeply, invisibly connected to the stories and sacrifices of others, even strangers from generations past.
The novel actually opens with this epigraph from the 13th century poet Rumi. And honestly, it's the perfect final thought for us too. In the end, the book isn't asking us to judge these characters for their difficult choices. It's asking us to meet them in that field, a place of empathy, a place beyond right and wrong, where a shattered story can finally become whole.